So I just wanted to sit down and share my story with you all about how I switched careers from electrical engineering to computer science. This was back in 2020. This is truly one of my greatest achievements because it was not easy and it took a lot of time, at least how I did it. So if you are thinking of switching careers, then I'm hoping that you could learn something from this video. Or if you're not thinking about switching careers at all and are just interested in hearing about my story, that would be great as well. So please keep watching. If you do end up liking this video or got at least something out of it, please leave it a like and consider subscribing to my channel. All that said, let's go ahead and get started. I want to start off sharing my story in college. My major was electrical engineering. I honestly went through electrical because it was the most interesting type of engineering for me, and it really was the only part of engineering I could see myself in. I struggled a lot my freshman year of college. It was tough. It was definitely one of my lowest points like in life because it was adjusting to college, and it was a quarter system, and it was just a shock. So I just did not have a good time my freshman year. I especially had a hard time passing classes, and this doesn't just go for freshman year. I was having a hard time passing classes throughout my 4 years in college. So basically I went through with it the whole 4 years because I was already doing it, and I think I felt like I had just one path forward, which was to graduate and then get a job afterwards. And I was really worried about after graduation because not finding a job really scared me, especially because I was insecure about my skills. I felt like I was just not as knowledgeable as other engineers who could get a job. So I was just very insecure basically, and I still am, but this was in college. And I was fortunate enough to find a job in senior year, I think end of winter quarter, I believe. So I was job searching heavily fall and winter quarter, and then luckily I found a job at the end of winter quarter. I accepted it right away. I was just like, oh my gosh, finally I have a job. Having a job lined up just took so much weight off my shoulders. All I had to do was pass my classes, graduate, and then work, I guess, for the rest of my life. Moving on to the job, once I started, I think July 27 of 2020, I was in construction as an electrical field engineer, and I was in the probationary period for 3 months, which I was considered an intern still. And within those 3 months, I immediately knew it wasn't for me. Not sure if it was construction or maybe it was just the company I was working for, or if it was the actual field of electrical engineering, but I was just not happy. I just immediately knew I was not happy with my job and my career path. The main reason was honestly the environment I was in. I feel like I never had a problem being the only female in the room, but this time was very different. I just never felt like I belonged there because of their team dynamic. They were cool people, honestly, but they were just they were all super close and have worked with each other for a long time. And even though there were interns there, they interned there for a couple summers even before I started. So they've already developed their relationship, and yeah, I guess always felt left out being the female. And that's not the only reason why I felt left out. Of course, this shouldn't be the reason why I should quit right away. I definitely did try to develop a relationship with each of my teammates. I did have a good relationship with some, but it was just so surface level, and I was closer to other teams actually, and they truly were the reason why it was bearable for me. So after the probationary periods of 3 months, I was gonna be full-time automatically. And the thing is, I saw the end of those 3 months as my deadline to let them know if I wanted to quit or not. So obviously I wanted to quit, but it just wasn't the smart thing to do since I didn't have much savings at that point. I mean, working only for 3 months, and I had rent, I had bills, I had loans to pay, but I mean, thankfully at that time there's a loan deferment because of COVID. So after all that, you know, I decided not to quit. Ended up staying there for another 6 to 7 months or so. I was honestly so miserable. No joke, I was miserable. Every day during lunch, I would drive somewhere to eat in the car and then cry for the rest of my lunch. Wow, that sounds so sad. Okay, but it was really sad. But anyway, yeah, I'd go back to work and stay there until 5 or 6 p.m. I was working about 55 to 60 hour weeks because my team was a little extra in the sense that, you know, interns or newer engineers should be staying until we were the last people there, basically, in the entire office. So all the other teams have left, everyone has left, and you should be the last person there because you should be using that time on top of the regular hours you would be working to learn about your job so you can do better. And mind you, I was not getting paid. I was not getting paid overtime. I was like, I guess construction works differently, but like on my timesheet, I was putting in 40 hours, but it was a minimum of 50 hours. And if you were on my team, you got stuck working 55 to 60 hours at least a week, okay? The normal work hours were from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. Those are the normal work hours. But some days we had to be there at 5:30 and I still had to leave at like 5:30 or 6 p.m. It was just insane. It was terrible, okay? But come March 2021, at this point I was working there for 9 months or so, and I felt like I was already getting comfortable with the job. I was just getting used to it. I was just dealing with how miserable I was, and that should never be the case, you know? Like, you should not just get used to being miserable. I felt like I had to do something to change my life for the better. The people around me were definitely able to tell just how bad I had it and how depressed I was. And I honestly don't use that word lightly because I have been there before multiple times, and I was just holding on to everything I could possibly hold on to every single day until sometime in March of 2021. Because I felt like I was finally okay with the job, I was looking to buy my first car, because at that point I was still using my family's car. So I really wanted to get my own car, and that was gonna be my first big girl purchase, you know, as an adult. I was really excited about it, but you know, that kind of meant that I had to stay in this job, and you know, because I have more bills to pay if that was the case. So I saw a car that I really liked, and I thought about it for a few weeks, you know, because it's a big purchase. And I think one of the weekends closer to the end of March, I told my boyfriend, you know what, if that car is still there on Saturday, which was like the next weekend, I'm gonna buy it for sure. Like, I've decided I'm gonna go buy it. So Monday comes around, and you know, I'm doing like my routine of eating lunch in the car and, you know, crying and looking for jobs and all of that goodness. And I was on LinkedIn checking for jobs, right? Like I was doing almost every single day after I became full-time, which was around October of the year before. And I saw that boot camp deadlines were coming up. Something like clicked in my head, and I thought, why don't I check this out? Like, why don't I do some research and then, you know, see what happens? And I kind of saw it as a sign that the universe was telling me, you know, this is my way out of this job, of this misery. So I went home, and I have always thought that like computer science was the career path that I should have taken, because like that's where the money is. That was my reasoning. But I did also have interest in it, so that's why I just felt like I should take the chance to research and maybe, you know, consider switching careers into computer science, more so like web development, to go into more detail. Same with my other engineering friends, and when I say engineering, I mean more like the electrical, mechanical, aerospace, to name a few. We all joked about how we chose the wrong career because we're not gonna be making any money, but that was really only because we were comparing ourselves with our friends who were computer science and making like 6 digits, and you know, here we are having to go into the office and then not making as much, and we're like standing all day, or I don't know, something like that. And I was honestly just really jealous. I do admit that I'm pretty sure that's why like these thoughts came up. But anyway, as I was saying, so when I saw those deadlines coming up, I decided to look into it more and maybe see if it's doable. I searched for good quality boot camps that like I didn't need to spend over 10 grand for, because honestly, I only really wanted to enroll in a boot camp because of the curriculum. Personally, I don't think that I was able to self-learn. I know a lot of people can self-teach coding and all that, like YouTube. There's a lot of resources out there that's for free and you don't need to pay for like a curriculum. But personally, I need guidance. I need something to follow, because if I'm making this career change, I want to, it's a risk. I'm leaving a stable job, and if I'm quitting my job just to like teach myself coding every day with no direction of what I should be doing, I don't think that's the right way to go. Like for me at least, because I'll probably procrastinate, I'll slack, I just won't be able to get to where I want to be, you know, when I want to be. And there honestly was a time crunch, because like if I quit my job, then I'd be using up my savings and all of that. So I had to really think about it. I found a program that met all my requirements, and that's when I decided on Wednesday of that same week that I was going to quit my job and do that boot camp. I still remember it just like it was a few weeks ago. I remember being parked by a Starbucks that I always went to and like cried in the parking lot every day. Oh my gosh. I remember just how sad I was. Like it was terrible, honestly. And if you've ever felt that way, you're not alone. But this is your sign to do something about it. Because if I was able to do it, then you can do it. Anyone can do it. But after I had lunch in the car, I called my mom and told her that I was quitting my job. And then, you know, told her my entire plan about doing a boot camp. And honestly, to my surprise, she was very supportive this time. And I say that because the last time I wanted to quit was when I didn't have a lot of money. And I was just 3 months in to my full-time job after college, and I had all these bills to pay and all of that. So literally everyone I told about at that time were very supportive about it, because they were worried, which they have the right to be worried about you, and that just means they care about you. Because if you're the one feeling all these like strong like sadness and just anger and all of that, you're just gonna be more impulsive. If you have other people who care about you telling you like their point of view, their perspective, then I feel like you'll listen to them more, and like you'll avoid making a mistake more, basically. But yeah, if you have people who worry about you, be thankful, because that just means they really care about you. I'm very, very thankful and appreciative that like I had those people then and now. Anyway, so she asked if like that's really what I wanted to do, and I said yes, it is definitely something I want to do, and nothing can change my mind. Like I was set. After I told my mom, I think it just made it so real for me, because someone else knew about my decision, and I guess I just like spoke it into existence. That night I told my friends, my housemates, who were my closest friends, and of course like they were worried about me and all of that, but I told them that my mind was set, and I just really nothing was gonna change my mind at all. And that just meant like I was super confident about my decision. Again, very thankful for people who worry about me, because they care. Just remind yourself that. So Thursday that same week, I told my direct manager about it, and Friday I put in my 2 weeks notice. So those 2 weeks were honestly so amazing to me, because I knew I was leaving. I was just so excited. I was like, peace out, like bye, in 2 weeks. So, but of course I did make some good friends there, so it was a little bittersweet. I feel like that's always the case, even if you hate your job, like you at least had at least some good memories there with people, you know, you made friends with and all of that. And of course, I didn't want to burn any bridges. Never burn any bridges, even if you did not like the job. So I tried to leave with grace and leave my work as best I could, so that my team wouldn't have any trouble. taking over my work once I've left. So April 19th is when I started my boot camp. And I was able to really take my time with it because this boot camp made sure their students were able to do the program while having a full-time job. This is one of the things that I really appreciated and stood out to me with that program. And if you are curious on what program I did Career Foundry. I can include a link in the description box if you're interested and curious. I think for the web development program, which is what I did, the full-time is like 7 months. And that's saying, you know, you have a full-time job, you're taking your time with it. And when you pay for the program, it comes with 7 months. And if you need more time than 7 months, then you can pay extra. I think, I'm pretty sure it's on a monthly basis, so if you wanted an extra month or two, then you can just pay for it. I personally think that 7 months is more than enough time, even if you have a full-time job, for the web development course at least. I was also very fortunate to get an internship sometime during my program, so I took a pause for 2 months to focus on that internship. And I'm very thankful that my housemate gave me the opportunity to get some experience, even though, you know, I was so new to the web dev space and I was scared. I was genuinely so scared that when she asked, I had to think about it a lot for a while, for a few days, because I was just not confident with how well I was going to do on the job, especially since I didn't major in it and I haven't spent that much time on it. But I'm so glad I agreed, and I took that leap of faith, and I was just like, yeah, let's do it. If I was gonna leave a stable job to do this career change, I was gonna take every opportunity to make sure I do it right. This internship was also one of the reasons why I was very confident that I was switching into the right career path, because I had a lot of fun in that internship. Everyone was just patient with me, and it was a good environment, and I wasn't even paid, but I was happy doing it. So I'm very grateful for that. So let's move on to insecurities. I have already mentioned some earlier, how confident I was with my skill set. One of the things that I was very insecure about switching into computer science, definitely the technical interviews that I knew I was gonna have to go through to get a job. I was so worried about something so far ahead that I might have allowed it to hold me back from being successful in this, career change. It's just that I've always heard for CS, you can possibly go through hours of coding in front of people. You code in front of people and they're watching you, and that was just one of my biggest fears back then. It had just always frightened me to my core. And once I did go through technical interviews, it was exactly that. I felt like everything I knew just left me behind. I was just, it was rough. It was rough. So my next insecurity would be that I was afraid to learn something new because I would be behind in life compared to my friends. And it really did seem that way for a long time, and this was honestly one of the biggest things that I felt throughout the time I was going through the boot camp. And I'm so glad I didn't let that bring me down, because it was hard. It was hard watching all my friends, traveling, having great jobs that paid them really nicely, and going out to eat with friends just whenever they wanted, and they were just having fun. And I also had fun. I just want to add that in. I did have fun during my boot camp, but I also had to watch my money because I was basically draining all my savings. And because I quit my job, I had to take care of my own insurance. I had to pay that out of pocket, and I had bills again. But one thing that I was very proud of was that I did have enough money to last me a whole year of paying everything out of pocket, and just, yeah, it sucked that I was draining my savings. But anyway, yeah, so I really had to remind myself that everyone is going through life at their own pace, and I'm still in my early 20s and I have so much time to live my life, and this is just me investing in myself. Once I'm done with the boot camp, I can actually start living my life, enjoying my pay, enjoying my job, just enjoying life in general. So I really had to remind myself of my end goal. to help me with, you know, this insecurity. So tips and advice that I did want to share from what I've learned from my experience. Number one is make sure you want to change career paths because you are interested in it and you actually want to. And don't choose a career path just because that's where the money is. And that's usually a lot of people's reason to change career paths, but at least in my opinion, what I've learned from this experience is when I was at my lowest at that job, my previous job, all I wanted really was to at least enjoy what I was doing, have a good work environment and culture. That's all I needed to be happy. So make sure you understand why you're doing this in the first place and then take that leap. Number two is make sure you have things planned and set for when you do this change. If you're doing it with a full-time job, make sure that you set a schedule to follow so you have enough time to complete your assignments while still having a good balance between work and your life, whether you have kids or not. And if you have kids, I'd imagine it's just a million times harder to do it because balance is very important for you to stay sane. And that's why I said earlier that I did have fun. I tried to have fun while I was doing my boot camp, but you know, you could only do so much with a fixed amount of money that you have. So I feel like setting a schedule should really apply to anyone, whether you have a full-time or a part-time job, or if you decide to quit, you know, like me, to focus on the boot camp full-time. A schedule is really important or else you will fall behind because, you know, I feel like you'll just end up procrastinating without a schedule to follow. Or I mean, that's exactly why I chose to enroll in a boot camp in the first place, because I needed that curriculum. So I was able to set a schedule for myself and the program was able to help me with that. And you know, this schedule does not need you to be working on it like 8 hours a day, unless you want to finish the program really quickly. And I think if you do it that way, then I think you'll finish in 3 to 4 months. They do have it on the website, but if you're interested, again, you can just check the link in the description box. If you do it for a couple hours a day or like half a day, you're more likely to finish in like, you know, closer to the 7 months, however many months that may take you. By the way, these number of months that I'm mentioning, it only applies to the boot camp that I chose. So other bootcamp programs might be different. You can take my advice however you want to and just change the timeline accordingly. Please do your own research on whichever program is best for you. Whatever works for your schedule and whatever works for your lifestyle. Number 3, I've already said this before, but take your time with it if you can. This does not mean that you should be slacking. I just mean make your schedule fit your needs. So take your time according to the program if you can, and really take in what you're learning, because again, you're switching careers, so you want to make sure that you're doing this correctly and you're really, you know, taking in the knowledge for your next career. Another tip would be, if you ever feel like how I felt, which was behind in life, just remember that you're on your own journey, and at the end of it, you'll know that you did it because you want to be happy, and you will be if you just work hard and, you know, put in the effort. But again, I have to remind you that make sure you are interested in the career path you're thinking of switching into, because if you're only doing it for money, who knows if you're going to be happy after. I truly hope that you found this useful. If you got any use out of the tips and advice section or just my story in general, if you are about to switch into this career and you look back on this video and maybe refer to any feelings that you can kind of relate to that I talked about in this video, literally anything, I hope you got something out of this. So I just want to help someone out there who's in the same boat as me, or as I was before. But that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching again, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.